Biggs paying respect towards APA. First ban from 100 Thieves. Rumble and Kaisa also removed. Tristana is up. It's patch 13.14. I'm not surprised to see her getting locked.
Yeah, Tristana has really risen very high in Prio. APA, it's one of the champions that he was playing a lot when he came in as well. So not a big surprise there. Rell on the other side, so 20, both available, having really high prio. Rakan still sitting pretty high priority as well. Yeah. So 100 Thieves going to have some options here, but likely going to be locking in some engage.
Yeah, I think specifically target banning Jace is big. I do wonder what Quid will end up going for because they're not willing to trade the Trist Jace like they were last week when APA was losing a lot of the mid lane matchups to Palafox. So that's one small draft tweak I see Team Liquid has already made.
Well,
and the Viego is just locked in.
I expect this to be locked in. They're still hovering it for now.
Still hovered.
Oh, it's not locked in just yet.
The sheen on the white Viego model.
It's a little harder to tell sometimes.
Yeah, it's doubtful. It would be really dumb to lock it in there. That's why I was...
Okay, yeah, well, they're going to lock in the Azir for Quid instead. Isaac, you have the numbers, don't you? How many Azir games has Quid played compared to everything else?
His next most played is the Jace at 4, and then it's Ahri at 2, and a couple of games, one game of a couple different champions. Did not do great on it, though. 2 and 5, I believe, on the pick, so hasn't been looking that great on the Azir. But in general, I mean, Quid hasn't had a great split, and I think that we are hoping, you know, for the 100 Thieves side, that he can perform well here today, that he can really kind of step up. I think APA as well. The pressure is kind of on him in a weird way because even though he definitely had a lot of success in the regular season, he was looking really distressed in their playoff losses last week. He was looking really, really down on himself after he was making bad plays. There was big reactions on the player cams. This would be exciting to see the Xerath-Azir matchup ran back, but it is not going to get locked in, so it is going to be just a Tristana mid into that Xerath, but would have been someone I wouldn't have been shocked to see bring out a different style of pick.
Exactly.
I completely agree. I think it might be a little early to lock Trist bot lane. I think that would leave the door open for like a double lift to Felios and he'd be able to win lane. That's why they can't do it in that situation. But I agree, like if that was something late for later on in the series, the Xerath could definitely be a big pick into the Azir.
I also really like having the Rakan for CoreJJ. Always Team Liquid looks better when CoreJJ is the one who can lead the charge, go for those snap engages. Ksante locked in for 100 Thieves. Now, it's not a flex pick with mid because they've already locked the Azir, but what it is an insurance policy. Summit is a top laner's top laner. All the other top laners respect him because he's mechanically proficient and he will kick your ass in a 1v1. Ksante is a champion that's not really vulnerable to that. He sort of just gets through most matchups and he can pilot through those pretty easily. So they're going to lock that in ahead of time, ban out the Gwen, which is one of those traditional picks that is used as a counter, and try to nullify that edge that Team Liquid often gets in the top half of the map.
I'm also going to be interested to see, you know, what bot laners TL is going to be banning out, because when I see the TL bot lane, you know, drafting Rakan with Ezreal, like that is a very weak 2v2. This is something that I do think there are opportunities for 100 Thieves to try to capitalize on, to try to dominate, get the push, see if they can actually play through DoubleLift, because DoubleLift has been their most successful win condition. It is going to be Sivir banned out, which is interesting. Sai is already off the table. Kai'Sa is already off the table. When you're looking at some of the most played for DoubleLift, it is then things like Varus. But I do think, you know, you want him on a hyper carry. I don't think you want him playing something that is more of a supportive role. Even though Ashe is still pretty popular on this patch, I wouldn't want to see DoubleLift on it.
Me either. President of the Ashe Hater fan club. Just not about that. If your name's not Berserker, don't play it. So let's see what Team Liquid is going to do here for the last ban. Are they going to continue trying to pinch that AD carry pull down? Will we see a Varus ban or something similar towards DoubleLift? Or do they have other concerns? Zeri, I like that.
Yeah, I was kind of running through the AD carries. I'm like, well, if they're going to throw a ban at Sivir, surely they have to ban something else as well. I think they'd like to have...
Felios, Jinx, it's probably going to be one of those.
I think they'd like to have the Ezreal matchup into a Felios, but yeah, with the Renata, they're just like, it's 100% going to be a Felios or Jinx, and they get to pick once they see what TL locks in.
This also confirms Rell will be going into the jungle for closer. This is not one of those traditional champions that we think of when we think of closer's greatest performances. It's not like the Lee or the Viego, one of those carries from the jungle, can make a lot of plays early. Of course, it can make plays, but you're just not going to have that same sort of pop-off potential with your own individual mechanics.
Yeah, also got to point out, Yeon did receive Rookie of the Year, and he just brought it on stage. I see no problems with this.
What a Chad.
I think that's the thing you should do. I hope we see... if the eventual MVP this split makes it to finals, I want to see it on the final stage. It's a new meta that I'm here for.
That's awesome. That's the kind of BM that you can
people
try
just
to get
start showing up with all their former trophies and stuff. Like DoubleLift just comes down, the whole table's full.
Just got a guy behind him pushing a cart full of trophies. All right, well, we've got the Poppy and the Kennen locked in for Team Liquid. So it's Poppy jungle for Pyosik. This is very effective. Rell's crashdown is so slow. There is no way for Poppy not to block it with steadfast presence. Very, very nice pickup there. I like that a lot. Kennen also a huge playmaker in some of these team fights. Summit being the type of player who can also command a powerful lead in lane with Kennen's laning strength. And the final pick of the draft is that Varus for DoubleLift.
Yeah, and even though we kind of prepped saying it was going to be a Aphelios or Jinx, I think once the Kennen came in and you're thinking, okay, everyone who does damage is squishy, DoubleLift just wants to be able to poke them down with Varus. I think this is going to be a poke Varus, since there's so many people he can do significant damage to in mid game. Not to mention, it is hard to kind of stand and hit with the range that Ezreal Kennen are going to threaten him.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is definitely, you know, if you go for a poke Varus, if you're going lethality Varus, and they're just piling in on you, you know, Rakan is charging at you, Kennen's charging in on you, Poppy charging in on you, it's going to be really hard to get much damage out. So we'll see what build he does elect to go for, but it is definitely a strong 2v2 regardless.
But would you rather have an Aphelios or Jinx against all those things that are diving you, or Varus you can stay further away?
I mean, it's tough, right? I think, honestly, I probably would rather have an Aphelios or Jinx still.
Okay.
I just think that it's the amount of safety that you have with the Renata is going to allow you to hopefully be able to...
All right, everybody, let's rock and roll. Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves, a lower bracket match to determine who gets to continue on in playoffs for Summer 2023 and a shot at Worlds, and who is going to get eliminated here and now.
APA?
Hold on now. APA, he's going to walk way too close to the terrain, right into the middle of 3 Thieves. He can escape because of the leveled rocket jump, so he'll walk back underneath the tier 1 turret. And now we got Emily standing by with an interview with 100 Thieves coach Nuke Duck.
Hello, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. We haven't seen you guys in a little bit. Obviously, you had a little bit more time to prep for this match. So how do you feel like draft went for you, and how comfortable are you with what you're facing off in against TL?
Yeah, I think our draft is like fine, you know. And but I think they're like I'm happy with it because I feel like their picks are like not what they're gonna win with. So you know, I'm pretty happy about that.
In terms of talking to other teams, one thing they have said about your team is kind of like, oh, we know exactly how 100 Thieves are going to draft. We feel like we know exactly how they're going to play. At what point do you think that's like a strength, and how far you can push that until it becomes a liability?
Yeah, I just don't think that's true here. I don't think they expected this draft. So like people might have thought that, but I don't think that's yeah, I don't think that happened this game. Yeah, I think they got surprised.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll let you get to watching the game. Back to you guys.
Yeah. I'm interested. I would be interested to know what he thought they were surprised by, right? Because Azir is the most picked. They're playing kind of late game scaling 2 carry comp, which I feel like is what 100 Thieves plays every single game. But it is going to be lethal tempo on the Varus, so almost guaranteed it's going to be AD on hit. We did see one game from Unforgiven where he played lethal tempo and then went AP, but generally if you're going to go AP, you'll go Hail of Blade, so this should be AD on hit.
Yeah, it's possibly just also a lane ego check. He wants the Varus because he's up against CoreJJ and Yeon, and CoreJJ and Yeon like to try and play lane very aggressively. But this level 1 has actually been really interesting. I mean, Pyosik crossed super early, went for the Raptors invade. He knows Closer is a slower clearing jungle, and they might even be prepping some type of top lane dive if someone can get enough poke down onto Someday.
Someday currently sitting at about 2/3, though. That is a very large wave about to crash in. The minions are going to arrive at the turret before the next wave would keep it pushed out away. So Pyosik not really going to want to overcommit onto this one, and that just means he heads back into his own jungle.
And this is actually really interesting. If you look at the map, look at all the pings on the TL red buff. They were really concerned about a counter invade over there. They had no idea where Closer was. APA is actually still over there guarding the red buff. There was mass pings. Their bot lane was heading there. Their mid lane ran down there. So the assumption was very clearly that Closer was going to go red to red and try to go for a 3 buff here potentially. But Closer has just gone back to his side on the blue side and just continues clearing away.
And I feel like if Closer was on one of those champions that we find to be more recognizable for him, like the Lee or the Viego, it's much more likely that he would have gone for a path like that. But on something like the Rell that is slower, could be more of a problem. Pyosik going in mid, Quid under pressure. APA gets paid. First blood to Team Liquid.
Yeah, and Pyosik really trying to make sure his mid laner is comfortable this game, especially up against Quid, who's had a fairly shaky year. I think Closer would love to get something back here, but Pyosik is matching this gank.
Closer hanging out in that tri-brush until the ward drop down means that he is exposed. Just going to have to walk that one off now as Pyosik can use the Hex Flash over the wall, shorten that path towards the Krugs a little bit more. Let's see this gank angle.
Presence. It was all about the W here. He flashes in to actually interrupt with the steadfast presence, stuns him on the shifting sands. It was just beautifully done there by Pyosik. A perfectly executed gank. As soon as you're stunned on that, you can no longer flash. The only way you're getting out of that is to respect the chance of the flash W. Yeah. He would have had to flash first, then go for the shifting sands to try to create that distance, but Quid doesn't do it, ends up going down.
It's why I love seeing Poppy into champions like the Azir, like the Rell, where you can easily use the steadfast presence to interrupt the dash. It's so powerful, and Summit is making sure Someday is missing out on whatever he has to up here in the top lane, forcing him back here with the laning power of that Kennen that we talked about a little in draft. APA and Quid trading back and forth, really extending the duration of this trade. Both champions duking it out down to about 300 HP.
It's actually really interesting there. So APA jumps in because he's tracking Quid. Quid had no W. He had no soldiers to actually drop down, so he couldn't actually, drop a W right behind him and immediately E away. So instead, he just kind of stands and fights. But at the end of the day, it's APA who ends up kind of taking the worst of it. There's 2 biscuits in the inventory as well for Quid, and APA has no TP, so he is going to have to base here. Yeah,
lost trade for sure for APA in that sense. But I think overall, Team Liquid does really want to push the tempo in this early game, going aggressive in every lane.
Ooh, Busio, 250 HP is Yeon and CoreJJ. There's some of that 2v2 aggro you were talking about earlier, the way the guys like to play the lane.
Yeah, and I could say it's like this Gigabrain thing of Team Liquid, knowing they have early game chance and they have to win early, but honestly, Team Liquid plays this way no matter what they have. They just want to win in lane and try and get ahead early. That is also how this game is going to play out, though. We heard Nuke Duck in the coach interview. 100 Thieves just has a strong team fighting composition, so they want to get to that phase. Team Liquid, though, is going to push.
Ooh, DoubleLift getting engaged on here as Yeon is down to about 100 HP. He's already dead. 100 Thieves get him in the 2v2 as Busio is slammed back into the wall. He's got the bailout, but he ain't going to bail out in time. CoreJJ just might get traded back as Closer comes in for a shattering strike, and DoubleLift hits him with a piercing arrow. It's a 2-2 game, 6 minutes in.
Beautifully played by 100 Thieves bot lane there, getting the better end of the trade. They get the early kill on Yeon, and then despite the fact that Pyosik is there first, DoubleLift got a lot of damage out and allowed them to turn around, get that kill onto Core as soon as Closer arrived.
And such an amazing sequence there for DoubleLift as well. He hadn't shopped yet, so he was going to be wanting to recall soon anyways. This time he gets a kill and an assist, gets the Noon Quiver and the recurve bow, so he gets to go back to lane with a healthy amount of gold.
Summer DoubleLift win condition is alive in game number 1.
Man, if he pulls this off, so for those of you who are just tuning in now,
DoubleLift in the finals.
Well, literally every time DoubleLift has been in Summer playoffs since 2015, he's literally won the split.
Yeah.
This would be the most ridiculous because he took 2 years off, was 8th place in the regular season, but if they pull off more stuff like this, there's at least a chance.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is just really well played by Busio. The engage comes in onto DoubleLift, but Busio finds the angle, flashes forward there. The handshake was cleansed by Yeon, and because Busio did not layer the ignite with it, he ignites immediately after the cleanse, so that is still there to get that finish. And then DoubleLift just maximizing damage as they were cutting back. Yeah, Busio goes down, but played this out really, really well. It's a great sequence from the 100 Thieves bot lane, which has been one of the bright spots for the team.
Yeah, a lot of patience by DoubleLift, who showed some stats earlier as well. They haven't necessarily had many kills and assists early on in the game, but no one on 100 Thieves has. At the very least, they're still playing fairly aggressive in lane, and they win games late through DoubleLift's team fighting. So getting him gold early is the most critical 100 Thieves win condition.
And Closer's showing up to be a part of it too. Again, I think this is the guy on 100 Thieves that, like you said at the very beginning of the day, Isaac, there's been the most public scrutiny of, and I believe rightfully so. He's had a very off split compared to a lot of his past performances. And I think if I'm looking at any individual player on 100 Thieves to step up in this series, it's got to be him. Now he's in the middle of a 1v1 in the jungle. Bringing his top laner over means Pyosik has to try to get out here. He'll secure the rest of the Krug camp, which just barely gets him level 6. Keeper's Verdict online for Poppy. We know that to be a big game changer once we start getting into some of these larger fights. Honestly, can determine the entire outcome of a game with a proper ejection.
Yeah, it really can. And it looks like TL is going to be starting up the Rift Trail here because they have tempo across the map. Talk a little bit more about Closer specifically. this was a crazy one. So in Spring Split, he had a 50% First Blood participation rate in his 20 games. 10 of 20 games he was involved in First Blood. Including this game now in Summer, it's 5%. In one game, he's been involved in First Blood for his team. So he has had a cataclysmic early game split from the jungle. He was involved in the later kill bottom lane, so he needs to actually be more like Spring Split or more classic closer, I think, for 100 Thieves to have a chance of winning this series.
One of the things about Closer is that he's been kind of known to be able to really step up in these playoff situations.
Yep.
A lot of times when 100 Thieves has made that big run in playoffs, it's been around some of these incredible games from Closer. So I also feel like he's such a confidence-based player. If they can have a good start to this series, if he can have a good game, they win game one, then I think the sky's the limit for Closer. But I definitely worry for them if things go bad early.
CoreJJ jumping over the wall there to see if he could interfere with this Drake take, but because it's a 3-man commit from 100 Thieves, there's nothing for a lone Rakan to do about it. Someday backing up now. He knows that his team has more men on the bottom side of the map, so if Team Liquid tries to make it play, it's going to be up there versus him, so wants to pay respect towards that. The Rift Herald also in Pyosik's inventory means they could try to burn down a lot of damage away from that turret, but they're not going to drop it up here. Someday continuing just to farm up. Honestly, a really impressive lead so far, plus 27 on CS, and he's even doing a good job keeping Someday zoned away from these minions underneath his own turret, making it even more difficult. Minions are equalized now, and it's still plus 25 for Someday. That's 4 waves.
I mean, Summit is so good in these lanes. You know, playing in that 1v1, he's really dominating against Someday thus far. You know, is going airy, he's playing heavily for lane, but he's not building anything crazy. It looks like he's going to be building towards Proto Belt, so he's building for the 5v5, which I'm way more of a fan of.
More than the static shit.
I hate
way
the
more.
Shiv Kennen builds. I think that they're just such a bait. You get a slight advantage in lane, but really is weak in those 5v5. So I think somebody's going to be set up well to actually fight when they need to around these dragons.
And I've said this before, even on LCS, it's just when you think about Kennen, when you think about the champion and the greatest moments that it's had in LoL esports history, none of it is ever on-hit Kennen attacking a turret. Never. It's always slicing Maelstrom, flash surprise play from the fog to win the team fight and change the game. So I always prefer seeing those AP builds as well. I think it's just such a game changer, especially on a player like Summit, who we all know to have those incredibly high highs. Team Liquid still up about 1,000 gold here. Kills still tied 2-2. 11 minutes into the game, Quid has just teleported back into mid lane as AP and Pyosik want to apply some pressure, but because Closer is there, and again, I gotta say, good. I want to see Closer properly tracking where Pyosik is and shutting down any plays he might try to make.
Yeah, Pyosik has been in 100 Thieves jungle a lot.
Yeah.
It's actually somewhat surprising he hasn't been able to pull off more. Like, it was basically the gank mid that hasn't set Quid back. Quid's up 10 CS. I think APA losing that trade after getting the first blood really neutralized whatever advantage Pyosik would have had. But like this top lane, yes, Summit's up 30 CS. Someday hasn't died yet. They're really looking for a kill here though, because a kill would also allow them to drop Herald and likely get first turret. Here he comes.
Someday trying to get all the way out. Stun comes through. Pyosik wanted to go for it, but Someday fast enough on the flash to get out.
Yep. Flashes, disjoints the charge there from the Poppy, and then not going to be able to actually follow up with the knock-up from the R. So well played by Someday. Had the early flash in that situation. Had the Merc Treads to be able to actually get out of that stun from the Kennen, and is able to stay safe. Obviously, it's not a fun lane to be playing in, but if he can stabilize here, he's going to be in a decent spot.
Pyosik coming around, slams Quid right back through his own wall. Quid flashing away, staying safe on this one. APA ends up losing a good chunk of HP as well, but now that 100 Thieves does not have a flash on their mid laner, you know Pyosik's going to be looking back to make this happen again as the Rift Herald is summoned up. The timer was running out, so they needed to just find somewhere to drop this. And charge completes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good drop right there. I got to say, Quid played that gank way better. He won the mind game that time against Pyosik. Notice how he didn't even try an E, because Pyosik might try and do the flash W again, so able to escape that one. Yes, it cost him everything, but at least he keeps his life.
Right, he's not dead. That's the most important thing here. As I do want to also point out, if we're talking about being not dead on Azir, Quid did go for the Crown of the Shattered Queen build this game. I've talked about it in the past as one that comes under a lot of criticism in the community. It's one of those things, especially versus a champion like Ezreal, I'm more skeptical of it because it's so easy for Ezreal to poke it off with Mystic Shot spam. So.
Yes, also Quid does this every time.
That's what I was going to say. I actually want to look at
it's just what he builds on.
I feel like it's 100% of the time that he's played Azir, he's built it.
I feel like it's one of those mythics, though, that is not a good cookie-cutter mythic. It seems much more situational than so many others, so I have to be a little bit frustrated with this choice in a game versus a champion like Ezreal.
I mean, I think the clear reasoning is that it's Rakan, and it's going to be, you know, such a hard engage, right? So he's seeing that they're going to be diving in onto him. They're going to be trying to one-shot him. I think if it's just the Mystic shots that you have to worry about, then you're going to be able to avoid that somewhat. So we'll see. We'll see how it does play out. This is one of those items that can be incredible and can actually be completely game-changing, or it can be worthless, right? It all just depends on if they can poke it off first.
I also, Raz, hope you're feeling better. If you want to check on Twitter, he's in an arm sling. I always have this really troll conversation with Raz, because every time Quid would build this, he'd rage in him. And I'd be like, but listen, he's going to check the tooltip at the end of the game, and it's going to show that he reduced a lot of damage. Because yes, it gets poked off by the Ezreal Q, but that's using the passive, right? He's reducing the damage every single time. And those JCQs hit it for 1,000. He reduces 700 damage every time. That's pretty good.
Yeah, until your Nexus blows up. Then at that point, your tooltip's not worth as much. So
I would say the Ezreal Q, knocking it off, not that worth it. But like buying it against a Jace EQ is really not that bad. Like that
Late
chunks
game,
people.
It does some damage for sure. I mean, I was really not a fan of crown builds when Shiv was in every single game, because it could just really get shivved off.
Yeah,
which was,
that's bad.
Was such
but
a problem.
It does also reduce the Shiv damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Hooray.
Yeah.
120 damage.
Reduced.
Reduced by 90 or whatever. Busio, handshake there onto Pyosik. 100 Thieves, they're getting engaged. Nice! Engage from CoreJJ, finds closer and Quid, but now it's Pyosik locked down in the front. Quid finds the kill. 100 Thieves strike right back, and Team Liquid are left down a man.
Great ult there from Busio. The initial engage from Core looked fantastic, but no one's there right at the same time to be able to follow up. Summit had to TP in. Imagine if Summit is there with the ulti at the same time. That's a completely different fight. But Busio creates space with his ulti there, pushes APA back, and 100 Thieves are able to turn it around.
Yeah, I gotta say, in the two biggest fights that mattered, Busio has really performed this game. It was the gank early, where he was able to get the kill back onto Yeon, eventually giving DoubleLift the kill onto CoreJJ as well. And right there, again, CoreJJ engages. Busio is patient enough.
Hold on now! Quid immediately with the shuffle! APA thought he was gonna stick around and take a turret, and Quid just destroyed him.
That is a big play there from Quid. They've been focusing on him, attacking mid lane here with Pyosik. And again, I saw a big reaction there from APA on the player cam. You can feel the frustration from him there. He jumped forward, you know, was getting a little bit aggressive and gets punished massively. Quid's the richest man in the game now. Already before that kill, he was at the top of the gold charts. Now he gets another kill, and he's 1,000 gold ahead of where APA was, who got that first blood and who has been put in a pretty good spot.
I mean, struggles continue for APA. He had the dream start in this game with the first blood off the Pyosik gank, and now, especially if 100 Thieves can get this Rift Herald, they're going to be in such a powerful position in this game. Better team fighting comp, 2 dragons already, even gold, and gold on your carries as well. They're the ones that have been able to get the kill, so very good start for the 8 seed 100 Thieves.
I mean, it's the 2 richest guys in the game are DoubleLift and Quid, right? So they are looking really, really good from this spot. Of course, Ezreal always really strong on 2 items. APA is going to be strong here on 2 items as well, but we can watch this one more time.
Too, man.
Yeah, he TP'd up towards top. It's a TP to defend. I think he just, if I recall, just kind of rocket jumped a little bit aggressively, looked for his raid, rocket jumps in, and Quid says, nope, I don't think so. There's no melees there to hold aggro, and he just shifts in, finds the angle, scoops him back into the turret, and gets a little bit of a freebie, and I mean, reduced damage with his crown on that auto attack, jatt.
Exactly. What was that? His crown was up. Like, he's actually never winning that all in.
Yeah, you can just see the reaction there. Yeah, that's a little goofy from Team Liquid. You're going to want that one back, man. Like, that's just silliness.
It's a massive shift in the game, too, because, I mean, Quid hasn't had to leave the top lane since that sequence. They're going to be able to give first turret of the game to Quid. Uses the crown once again to tank some turret damage. Getting a lot of use out of this item.
I hate this item so much now because of this.
He's getting a lot of use.
I hate this item so much.
You want me to check the damage?
I bet you it's high.
470. Wow, incredible.
That's 471 more damage than Leandry's would have blocked.
True, yeah. How much damage would Leandry's have done?
I don't know.
Probably more than 470.
No way of knowing.
Probably only like 2,000 by now.
Yeah, exactly. Leandry's is so busted.
All right, well, hey, it's 18 minutes into the game. Jatt, you already said it. 100 Thieves have both the Drakes so far. It's been 1-1 on the Heralds. Team Liquid's Herald value initially was only the guaranteed charge. They didn't force down a turret with it. It ended up having a timer that ran most of the way down. Speaking of the timers, this one's getting a little bit short, but I don't always trust Spectator Herald timer anyway. Summit versus Someday in the bottom. This is still the part of the map where a big part of Team Liquid's gold lead is coming from. But Someday's going all in. He nearly gets the kill, but he won't quite find it. DoubleLift Lolesports shows up! And the snipe with Chains of Corruption. Are you kidding me? DoubleLift is keeping this one going.
It's DoubleLift with the fadeaway ulti there, taking down Summit, who had a nice dodge on the Q, was able to play that about as well as he could. But this is the problem with these sort of picks. I mean, somebody almost had the solo kill while down 50 CS here. You know, somebody's up a massive amount in the farm, but it's just hard to translate that to side lane pressure. You know, Kennen is something that has to succeed in the 5v5. You can't really win it out in the 1v1 for the whole game.
CoreJJ coming mid. But with Closer and Busio hanging around in the brush, we know at least that there's nothing for Team Liquid to find here. As CoreJJ getting a little close here. Closer does not hit him with the Shattering Strikes, so there's no follow-up for the Crashdown.
And I think if you're Team Liquid right now, you're sweating, because this has been the problem with Team Liquid and even with Summit kind of the whole year. Summit, by a wide margin, leads the entire league in isolated deaths. He has good hands. He dodged the Q, gets hit by the R, was up 50 CS, but he again is in a 1v2, so that 50 CS doesn't matter. Also, the fact that Team Liquid has the best early game of every team in the LCS, but still only went into the playoffs as the 4 seed is because their mid game is poor. This team composition doesn't match up that well against 100 Thieves come late game. They don't have the gold lead, so right now they are really stressing because this is not their strengths. Their early game didn't work, and now they have to do something they weren't able to do during the regular season.
I just think Tristana from behind is such a struggle. You really don't add a lot, right? If you don't have that damage to be able to actually threaten and move aggressively and be able to really, fight people in these side lanes. The way that you win trades in a 1v1, if he's going to be playing in the side lane against Azir, is you have to be rocket jumping in aggressively and winning those trades. When you're behind, you can't do that. So all that happens is you slowly get poked in, you get chipped out, shoved into these towers, and it becomes really, really problematic. You can see APA is also down 2 full levels on Quid, plus the item disadvantage. He's going to have a range disadvantage as well. So it's going to be tough, I think, for him, unless the rest of his team can do a really good job to actually create space.
Closer trying to go in there, but now we got the follow-up from 100 Thieves and ain't going to find it just yet. But they swoop him right back in. Summit's picked up thanks to the Emperor's Divide. 100 Thieves takes out the Team Liquid flank.
I mean, how out of position do you have to be for them to miss that many abilities and still kill you cleanly?
Yeah, Busio missed the flash Q, Closer missed the flash Q, but Quid is there. They do scoop him in. They get the kill at the end of the day. And now it's TL. Oh my God, they just flashed that wall. It's actually, so that should not have been spotted. I want to see the spectator from the other side to see if they actually saw them going in at all. But they flashed that wall. They shouldn't have been able to see them.
This is amazing.
But the ward over by the Baron pit should have actually tipped them off, right? Like there was a ward on the way to the Baron pit.
Let's watch this back with vision, because there's no way 100 Thieves would just give it. That's an incredible call by TL.
There was a ping, a red side ping from 100 Thieves on the Baron while they were still on the Drake. So it was in their minds, could they have been here? But they decided to stay on the Drake instead. Team Liquid in a position where you said it, Jatt, they were sweating, end up making a miraculous steal on the Baron up against 100 Thieves.
That one little line of vision, you can see the bush doesn't see them.
They were never spotted.
They were never spotted from the ward or from the Scuttle Crab.
I have so much respect for the fact that they flashed the wall too, because that is hard commitment to it. That is absolute confidence in the fact that you have tracked where the vision is placed correctly and playing around the false sense of security that the Scuttle Crab actually gave them there, right? Because they're saying, we don't need a ward in the pit, we have the Scuttle. So he flashes the wall, they hard commit to it, and just like that, TL are back in a position where they can maybe knock down a couple turrets. They can really create a decent lead here from what was looking like a pretty doomed game.
And they need to as well, because that was sole point for 100 Thieves as well. So this bottom turret goes to Summit. He's going to wait for his flash to be up. He still has the ability to get a massive engage, especially if they can poke off that crown from Quid with maybe an Ezreal or a Q. That would be the lineup for Summit. And you can see 100 Thieves have been very good at marking him on the outside of fights, as happened before that Baron sneak, actually. So TL really needs to play powerfully with this power spike.
And they'll have that flashback up for Summit before the Baron falls, but that overlap is not going to be for a very long time. Probably less than 60 seconds overall by the time that it gets to there. Let's see how long on the flash. Okay, 30 seconds on the flash, a minute and 30 on the Baron. So it'll be just about 1 minute of playmaking opportunity while you still have Baron to go for a flash ulti Kennen engage. If TL could set that up, absolutely huge. But 100 Thieves right now trying to play defensively, minimize the losses from this Baron sneak.
And very clearly, TL are just going to be trying to set up for this fight at the next Dragon, right? They have to get as strong as they possibly can to try to deny that. You can see it's Zhonya's second for Summit. You know, they're trying to get as much gold in their pockets as they can. But that Baron Seek was a big deal. They got a turret on bot side. Previously, we saw APA finally cleared up a turret on top side. So he has gotten to his second completed item. Yes, he's still behind the carries on the 100 Thieves side, but not by so much anymore. And Yeon is in a pretty decent spot. They're going to knock down the tier 1 mid guaranteed. So they got a lot from this. They went from down gold to 2,700 gold here. It's a massive swing.
And not even just gold, just like map pressure, right? Not having those outer turrets up for 100 Thieves, maybe allowing CoreJJ and Summit to have a little bit more real estate to look for engages with, because that's ultimately what they need to do, is they need to find good engages onto Quid, DoubleLift, Busio. They need to find ways to get around the front line of Someday and Closer. So just, again, that was an incredible Baron sneak with the way they snuck the vision, and is very meaningful in this game.
It was big, and I think, on the other side, we've been watching DoubleLift have a great game, but Varus is always really vulnerable to dive, right? Yes, he's playing with cleanse, yes, he's gonna have the flash, but he is playing on hit, so you need to have time to actually stand and fire and stack the lethal tempo if you want to have a big impact in this fight. And that is going to require Someday and Busio especially to be able to actually peel off some of these divers, right? To keep Core away, to keep Summit away. Because if they're allowed that free engage, if they get that flash engage from CoreJJ and Summit comes in over the top, you're just not really going to be able to do much in a fight where that happens. So much is on the teammates of DoubleLift to create that space for him.
And when I'm looking at DoubleLift's teammates and I'm looking at Someday, I feel like probably most of this gold difference can be attributed to the farm difference of the top laners, with the Kennen being plus 50 up over the Ksante. So for Someday, again, I just want to see him doing a good job keeping these guys away. He's on bodyguard duty. It's not Chad 1v9 Ksante that's going to take over the game because he's already ahead, but I want to see him try to keep Summit away, try to keep Pyosik and CoreJJ away, and make sure that DoubleLift can find that free firing time you're talking about.
I mean, you guessed it. It's a 1.4K lead right now for TL. It's about a 1,600 gold lead in the top lane for Summit, right? So his lead is actually greater than the team lead is right now. Their Baron power play was plus 2,700 or so, so that was really good, but they have 40 seconds now to prepare for this dragon here. People are all going back. They're going to be buying up. They're going to be getting stopwatches, and they're going to be trying to prepare as much as they possibly can for this.
And it's going to be a really big fight. Everyone has their flash. Everyone has their ultimate. The game has been in a super lulled state since that Baron, where Team Liquid was just able to pick up a little bit of gold. Currently, Team Liquid does have the vision advantage, so 100 Thieves needs to use, they don't even have a current blue trinket up. They have to use their tanks very carefully to get position, and actually, shockingly, they're able to just waltz into river with a solo Ksante and clear the wards. That's a big win for 100 Thieves.
Someday now still off to the side. In the middle of 3 players, though. CoreJJ knocks him up with a grand entrance, but they do not want to commit to the Ksante, especially not with the rest of the Thieves nearby. They have taken control over that river, like you said. Control ward for 100 Thieves in the brush entrance to the mid lane, as well as the pit itself. They've got the ward up there on the ramp, but it's also being disabled by the control ward of Team Liquid.
So he's looking for a TP angle here.
Yeah. He's going to show up in mid. Okay, he teleports right on top of that. So 100 Thieves is now aware that he will not be able to at least just TP in on top of them from a random angle. They know where he's at. Now the Dragon, they're just hitting, burned down by Team Liquid. 100 Thieves ready to make their entrance. We might just get a smite fight. He missed Closer. Verdict. Did not hit Closer, but it is going to go over to Team Liquid anyway. 100 Thieves now falling back. They've lost the objective. Team Liquid prevents the soul.
Whew, that was, I mean, it was good. It ended up working out, so that makes it good. So Team Liquid did just flip it. I think they lose a straight-up team fight, so I don't hate the call to rush it. Charging up the Poppy ultimate to try and hit Closer makes it less of a 50-50 in their head. It did end up just being a 50-50 though, and Pyosik lands the smite to really keep TL in the game. I think Cloud Soul would have been huge for 100 Thieves.
I will say I'm a little bit disappointed that 100 Thieves didn't commit more to the fight, because I did feel that they were kind of winning position, but I think that they were so concerned about opening themselves up to a potential flank that they didn't want to walk into that pit area and actually start the fight.
Yeah.
But it did feel like they gave a lot of freedom to TL, to try to finish that, and thought they would have been willing to take a bit more of an aggressive stance to try to get what would have been sold.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it all happened really fast. So maybe there was a moment where 100 Thieves, looking back, could have made a split decision, but that was like Summit teleporting mid looked crazy, but it really threw 100 Thieves off and gave them the window to take the Drake. Now they're just, they could fight over this.
Yeah, we've got the Ezreal ulti over the top, just going to knock a little bit of HP off the DoubleLift. Some poke coming back and finding Yeon, so both AD carries not too much worse for wear as the battle for the Scuttle Crab goes the way of Team Liquid. Both teams also having a ward there in the Pixel Brush. 100 Thieves knows that Liquid is happy to go after Barons. They are not willing to let a second one just just be snuck away from them. As soon as this is spawned, they're ready to fight over the vision. Considering so few resources were used in the fight over the Drake that we thought was going to be really big, I'm expecting a full-blown battle over this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also an interesting build here from Closer. He's going kind of the standard support item style, but did actually go for a Knight's Vow here for DoubleLift, so trying to do everything he can to keep DoubleLift alive. I'm guessing the Giant's Belt is going to be an Anathema's, probably as his third item, just kind of continuing along with this trend, but 100 Thieves in the Baron area, you have got to respect that damage, so TL needs to keep vision on this Baron. When you have an Azir, when you have an on-hit Varus, that thing will melt, so they have got to make sure that they cannot have the same thing that they did to 100 Thieves hold on them.
There is a completed item advantage for Quid in the mid lane, now having 3 fully completed there, along with the stopwatch, which can give you the value of a fully completed item. Over there for APA, it's still just Navori Quickblades and Kraken Slayer in the inventory with the extra cape. Like you said earlier, Isaac, Tristana from behind is rough. It's much, much more difficult to have meaningful impact in the fight, and we'll see if APA can find those angles he's looking for, as a TP is going to be used from 100 Thieves to bring Quid back up into this topside river area to continue the battle for vision and positioning over this objective. So many flashes are available. So much in the tank for both sides. Closer's not going to hit the Shattering Strike onto Yeon there. I still have not seen the Rell play the flash Shattering Strike crash down Magnet Storm yet this game. So that's why you pick this champion. I'm hoping that we get to see that in one of these upcoming fights.
Yes, but also like Core, Yeon, APA, they can all kind of get away from Rell pretty easily. They don't need to clump up in order to be effective. So it is hard for Closer to find his angles. I'd say, like, if this game breaks, it's going to be through one team just hard flipping an objective like we saw at the last Cloud Drake, or someone getting caught in a side lane, right? Whether that be Tristana or Kennen, because their Team Liquid is keeping control of this game because they're pushing the side lanes first. So 100 Thieves is constantly like late to the next wave. They're grouping up much more than Team Liquid is, and they're just hoping that they can kind of catch a 5v5 at some point. Team Liquid just isn't really allowing it.
This is also going to be interesting. They could actually potentially look to go over the wall there. I was thinking they might have looked for some sort of a sneaky play. Bit of an aside, but there is also a bug. I'm not sure if it's actually been fixed on this patch yet with Rell Q Flash, where the Q can go off away from where your cursor is. I saw Diamond talking about this on Twitter, and there's some examples of it in Pro across a number of different leagues. So that may potentially be making Closer a little bit more hesitant, because I know a lot of pros have been talking about this bug with Rell, where you look for a Q Flash and your Q kind of just flies off to the side. So potentially is a little bit more nervous to look for that play.
Well, we haven't seen either team really be willing to pull the trigger in quite a while here.
We're only that damage.
8 kills in 31.
I knew you were going to say something.
That would have done like 500 damage instead of like 150.
Crazy value.
I hate the crown.
And it's going to be back up before the next fight, I think.
Is it? It's such a long cooldown. It's
we'll see.
A really terrible item.
Or he'd be going into this fight with less health.
Yeah, true.
He'd be like 350 health less.
You're not wrong.
There's no fight. There hasn't been a fight.
And another reason the item is good, because it's going to be back really soon.
There's no fight.
There's no fight because of the overwhelming power of the Crown of the Shattered Queen.
Yeah,
just
maybe Team Liquid would be more willing to fight if Quid had 500 less health.
True.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And it's back up, look!
There you go, wow. Impressive.
I feel really bad for like the people in chat that are believing you.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It has its uses.
It does have its uses.
All right, 100 Thieves, control over the topside river again.
I think they're just going to start the Baron. They've been up here for so long, and it feels like 100 Thieves don't know what to do at this point in the game.
taking the dragon.
Like they're not going to Soul, so they're just going to have to flip this. But now you're doing this against an Ezreal, and you're in the pit against a Kennen. I kind of hate this call, but they're going to go for it.
They try to use the Keeper's Verdict. Pyosik doesn't hit. Summon with a massive engage. They stole it. 1 to 3, but he ain't going to find the kills just yet. Pyosik has stolen the Baron, and 100 Thieves already lost Busio. They try to retreat back over the wall. It took them 10 damn minutes to do that. Team Liquid with the punish.
Team Liquid with the massive steal on the Baron, and they get the dragon on the bot side, but that was just a terrible call from 100 Thieves, and you could kind of feel it coming. They were just milling around the Baron for so long. The dragon spawned, and they realized, well, I guess we're doing Baron. So it's just a straight up flip. I mean, yeah, they avoid the knockout here from Pyosik, but it's just a 50-50 as Pyosik has vision. He's going to get into the pit. Very early smite there from Closer. He tried to go for the Q smite, but looked like he miscalculated, but I want to say it was 370.
I saw 370 before Pyosik flew in for that smite. That's now the Cloud Drake that Pyosik has won the flip on. That's the Baron he's won the flip on. Summit, even though he was 0-2-0 before that, got the Dream Ultimate, right? He pushed out every damage dealer for 100 Thieves, making it so they'd win that fight. They also were able to sneak the Cloud. So that's 3 objectives that Team Liquid has been able to really just take, despite 100 Thieves having the lead in this game. And now they've kind of done it. Like, Team Liquid has played a really good 20 to 33 minutes and have gotten the lead back in this game.
And it just feels like 100 Thieves had no confidence in their ability to push the game forward, right? They got these early 3 dragons. They didn't commit to playing for Soul. And I don't feel like they have confidence in their engage to be able to start fights. So yes, they do have closer here on the Rell, but it is admittedly fairly difficult to actually catch a cleanse Ezreal, to catch a Tristana. So it feels like they don't feel that they can actually start these fights. And so they just kind of end up throwing their game on this decision to go for the Baron, which was really, really ill-advised. It's just a bizarre kind of ending to this game number 1.
Team Liquid have made better decisions in this game. The Baron sneak, their ability to focus the objectives properly, and it's those choices that have resulted in a 7,500 gold lead. They are busting the base of 100 Thieves right now. That middle lane tier 3 turret still only standing at half HP. Bottom lane inhibitor under pressure now. We've still got the Kennen minion blessed up with Baron. DoubleLift's going to remove that one now. But APA can just step up. As long as Pyosik guarantees that Quid doesn't go in for some sort of a scoop on him, should be pretty all right. As the mid lane tier 3 now under pressure from Summit, he'll finish that one off. And Sunday is still just no answer whatsoever to this Kennen in the 1v1. It's very difficult for him to deal with this champion, because if you look at the itemization of Sunday, it's pure armor to deal with the double AD carry on the enemy team. So that
paralysis for 100 Thieves
does so much. As Team Liquid now trying to get away, Pyosik using the slam to tackle Sunday backwards and get himself out. Now Team Liquid's looking for their opportunity to find something else. Sunday's still here on the flank. TL pushing right back up. The mid lane inhibitor has fallen. Team Liquid with a 4-1 split. Summit off to the side in mid lane as the remaining 4 players now look to pressure onto the inhib. Take that one out, make it a 2-inhib game. Pyosik with a steadfast presence. CoreJJ grand exit right back over the wall. Someday with a knockup. He goes all out to bring Summit into the rest of the team, but he pops the Zonias, and instead it's Quid, who may just drop. The bailout keeps him alive. Beautifully done from Busio as Pyosik tries to go over the wall, and Quid still lives. Closer tried to disengage. Someday doing the same. 100 Thieves hold the line. Don't you dare mention the crown.
I'm not gonna. This was the things that were going through my mind during the sequence, Captain Flowers. I cast or cursed them with my mind. Like, I was all ready to say Team Liquid didn't look like Team Liquid, because honestly, they had done so much in this game and were so patient coming back into this that they never need to get overly aggressive. But Summit actually does. They were gonna just clean 2 inhibitors and be able to back away, but he walks forward for 1 extra Q. That's when 100 Thieves find their window. Another amazing bailout from Busio, and 100 Thieves wins the fight despite being down 8,000 gold.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this game was pretty much over, right? I thought TL was gonna be able to clean it up. You know, Someday goes for this angle, does get the flash, gets the all out, pulls in Summit, but TL could have just let him go with 1 death there. Then Quid flying in, you know, went way too far forward. It looked like he was going to die, but does have the stasis, you know, with that stopwatch, had the bailout, had a little bit of coverage, barely survives. And TL members kind of try to pile in to try to support Summit on this ill-advised fight. And it gives 100 Thieves another lease on life.
And this is actually a really big window. 36 seconds until potential Cloud Soul. Team Liquid is trying to get the waves moving, but they might get a fight.
There it is, Magnet Storm, but there's no follow-up for the rest of the team. Pyosik forced to flash away to escape the follow-up. 100 Thieves commit some Rell resources there as Quid loses the crown. 100 Thieves trying to keep Team Liquid zoned away from this one. There is no Baron for another minute and 15 seconds, but Team Liquid's going right down mid. They've already found closer. Why was he there? Team Liquid pushing with a 4-man squad down mid. They got the 1-man split up top. 2 inhibitors are already down, and inhibitor number 3 is about to have a wave crash into it. TL are 5v4 for the next 35 seconds.
Going to be a really difficult defense for 100 Thieves. You can see they wanted to stick around for the Cloud Drake, but Team Liquid just didn't give them the option to do that. 3 inhibitors down now, 5 Team Liquid members in the base.
Team Liquid, with all 3 inhibitors gone, are going to be spawning double super minions. You can see that we're only halfway through to the respawns of those first 2 inhibitors as well. So this is the game state for quite a long time here for 100 Thieves. Even more problematic, if Team Liquid doesn't end here, the next Baron spawns in 30 seconds. If they want to play it slow, they can go for that instead. Minion wave's about to start crashing in. Here's the first double super minion wave. Quid, fortunately for 100 Thieves, can clear those out very effectively, so they don't even get to do too much damage there to both Nexus turrets. Team Liquid going to retreat now that all of the Thieves are back online. They'll head back down towards the Drake. This will make 3 Drakes in a row that Team Liquid has achieved for themselves, stopping 100 Thieves' soul attacks.
And likely the Baron. That's the biggest problem here, is that Summit still even has his TP, right? So if they left a ward in the base, we know that they didn't, but 100 Thieves doesn't know that. he could just TP and look to end the game. So they actually take down that dragon for free. AP is going to head down towards bot, and the rest of TL are just going to do the Baron here, because 100 Thieves really can't leave the base at this point. So really the only thing you're going to be able to exit for is this next dragon. You basically have to turtle up, hope that you can survive against all of these supers with the Baron waves coming in as well. It's going to be an incredibly difficult couple minutes here for 100 Thieves, and if TL plays this out right, there should really be no way to defend.
Yeah, it's really all about 100 Thieves trying to find a pick on someone, and they need to, if Team Liquid spaces properly, they'll be okay. They just need to walk all 3 waves in at the same time and make sure they don't have a window to get engaged on. Closer's been waiting, though. He's going to try and engage on these 3 in mid lane, if I had to guess.
All right, the Sun Disc is summoned up. Will Closer make his entrance? The other 4 Thieves are defending at mid. Pyosik moving back to clear out the enemy control ward.
Yeah, it will. Is he gone? Where'd he go?
Where is he at? Okay, he's back in the base. 100 Thieves continuing to try to defend. Team Liquid pressuring all 3 lanes at once. Mid lane and bottom lane inhibitors going to respawn in 25 and 50 seconds respectively. Team Liquid is already ready to knock them right back over. 100 Thieves, they've really got just one chance at this. If they fail this team fight, the game is over.
But at the same time, if TL are too passive, there's really good wave clear on the other side.
True.
So you actually have to push forward and start attacking the champions as they're trying to clear out these waves, because DoubleLift and Quid can clear these waves pretty effectively.
Yeah, 4 supers at once crashing, though, so here's Team Liquid stepping up. Oh, APA takes so much damage.
DoubleLift is also at half HP, though, so it's a little bit harder to chase than they'd like. Shattering Strike down to the Summit. He is about to get shredded. Closer here with the front line as Busio's ulti stops Team Liquid from following up. Now they're bringing in the TP to reinforce. Pyosik gets stuck up against the inhibitor wall. He's juggled around by Quid and taken down. 100 Thieves gonna do for 1, but the inhibitor mid is still gonna drop. Some days too low, the Thieves have to retreat. They've lost a Nexus turret. 100 Thieves, 4v3, holding on, but it's double marksman against a respawn inhibitor, and the thing's about to drop. DoubleLift charges up a piercing arrow. A TP's about to arrive, but APA, CoreJJ, and Yeon are all making their exit. Someday, coming around from the side, keep your eyes on Ksante. Can't close the distance in time. Busio now gonna get jumped on. APA looking for some burst, but not enough to kill the enemy support. Someday still seeing if he might be able to find an angle here on these guys. Even though it was a 2-for-1 for 100 Thieves, they still lose a Nexus turret, and both inhibs are killed again. I'd say Team Liquid comes out on top.
Yeah, I mean, ever so slightly, but this is a situation where you would think that they would have been able to close the game, right? You have Baron, you have triple inhib down, and I don't think they played it out very well from that spot. So 100 Thieves are able to hold on. And at this point, the gold lead is kind of stopping really meaning anything, right? Because you look over at some of these builds, Yeon is completely full build, Summit is almost full build, Quid's full build, Double is full build, right? So sure, there's some more gold that can be in the pockets of some of these other 100 Thieves members, but really they have the gold where they need it. So the gold lead doesn't mean much. And TL, despite the fact that they have all of the momentum in this game, if they mess up 1 or 2 more times, you never know what's going to happen.
You just saw the Ezreal ulti hit DoubleLift, and he healed back to full in 4 autos because of Immortal Shield Bow plus Bloodthirster, so the poke also becoming less and less meaningful as Closer is coming in for the flag, giving it his flash into the crash down Magnet Storm. CoreJJ's the focus as Yeon gets away to the side. Someday coming in as the Keeper's Verdict ejects Someday and Closer from the fight. Summit's going to drop. They turn around. Quid gets a reset, but only for a second as DoubleLift and Busio are looking to do the APA's in the back of the base. APA's in the Nexus. They got to try to stop them, but they can't do it. It's game number 1 for Team Liquid.
All right, APA bounce back from a questionable 10 to 15 minutes to making the game-winning teleport into the base. It would have been absurd if 100 Thieves could have came back in that game. So, as most people expected, actually, Team Liquid up 1-0 in the series.
Crazy.